Thanks for tuning in to The Lime. I'm your girl, Ra.
And Ayschel.
And we are giving you all that Caribbean culture.
And tonight we actually have a different episode with a different tone. We told you guys in the beginning that we wanted to really dig in deep this season. And tonight we're digging deep.
We're digging deep,
I'm
okay?
super
Just
excited.
holes over here.
Well, we have a special guest tonight, and I will definitely fail by doing the honors. So I would love for him to actually go ahead and do the honors and introduce himself.
Good night, greetings family. How everyone doing?
Good. How are you?
Nice. Pleasure having me here. Appreciate the gesture. My name is Al Montague. That's my given name, my legal name. However, my name that I give myself is Oba El because I wanted my name to resonate more with my ethnicity and who I was as a person. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's my name. I'm from Guyana. Born in Linden, grew up in a village called Bedford, we call it BV for short, and moved to Atlanta in 2001. And the process of why you guys having me here tonight in relation to religion, we didn't get into that some more, but there's just a quick snapshot because, we're short on time. So that's essentially why.
Short on time, but we have a lot to cover, and I'm so ready to get into it.
Yeah.
But Ash and Mr. Oba, before we get into it, we're actually going to see what's in your cup, what's in our cup. So tonight in this lovely mocktail, since we're going over religiosity and spirituality, is a mocktail that is called Lime and Ting.
Lime
and Ting. So if y'all drink up, inside of the cups this evening,
yes,
we have Ting, which is a Jamaican grapefruit soda. And then as well as that, we also have some homemade limeade. So equal parts Ting and equal parts of the homemade limeade. And then you have Lime and Ting.
There you go.
Nice.
So that's what's in our cup.
That's awesome. So thank you for these beautiful mocktails.
You're welcome.
And I'm actually ready to jump in. I'm excited.
Let's go for it.
I mean, this is a twist that we have here on the show tonight, but, it's better, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm excited. So, Mr. Oba, thank you so much for gracing us tonight with your presence. And I'm so intrigued by just, learning a little bit more about your journey previous to us actually starting the show. But for those that are watching right now, please just kind of let us know a little bit about your childhood growing up in Guyana.
Okay, well, essentially, growing up in Guyana, as I said, I was born in Linden. It's the second major town in Guyana. But when I was several months old, my grandmother came for me and took me to where she was from my mom. I don't know what was happening at that time. But so I grew up in a village called Bedford. It was like 9 miles out of the city of Georgetown.
Okay.
And so my grandmother, she's a librarian. And my grandfather, he is a factory mechanic. So I grew up with two old folks. And so my school was like obliquely opposite the library where my grandmother was working. So every day after school, I had to go into the library because my grandfather wasn't home from work as yet. So by doing that from as a young child, I was into books, doing a lot of reading. And I would tell any young person that reading is very complementary to anywhere you're going in life.
Absolutely.
So in reading books, I gained insight into a lot of things that ordinarily I wouldn't have gained access to. So with the reading of books, it actually helped in my classwork because, as we said back home, I was bringing first in school, and they don't do that in America, but we had a system where instead of giving you a percentage, it's if you got first, second, third, fourth in school. So if you got 50 kids in the class, that was your designated stuff, right? So I was winning in English, in math, in science, history, all the way through primary school. But when I got to high school, I got out of control. I got wayward and things. So that, but that was basically it. And my grandfather, as he was also the village plumber.
Okay.
He was also the village bicycle repair guy.
Oh, wow.
He was also the village tinsmith and guttersmith. So when I wasn't with my grandmother in the library, I was with him around the village, helping people fixing their problems mechanically, as well as people used to bring their bicycles to repair at the house. So due to that fact, I was always like dealing with people. I have a lot of interaction with different people throughout the village. And I always make this like comment. I said if my village have 500 people, I actually knew like 499.
Wow.
Because I was always dealing with people on different levels through school and everything else. And my grandfather's job and at the library. Eventually, as I got older, I started working at the library for free. Right? And so somebody bring their book in, check in the book, or the books are in a disarray. I know how to stack them up because there's a system in place for a library, to stack them up and things like that. So essentially, that was my childhood kind of upbringing. And one caveat I would add to that, next door to the library in the village, there was what we would call, and the library was actually below the community center. So in this community center, we had Boy Scouts, we had steel pan, we had martial arts, we had Girl Guides, we had the Mothers Union. Next door to the library, it was a place called Murray's Disco and Bar, and so it was a rum shop. Upstairs was a nightclub. They had a live band that was resident there. It was a pool, you can play pool. So I grew up in that environment. And next door to that was the movie theater. So
real active village.
So we used to call it the front line. Then you had all the vendors selling in front there. So everything was happening there at that time in my life, so interesting.
The good old days, the good old days.
Can't come back.
So how would you describe spirituality growing up within the little village that you grew up in?
I wouldn't say spirituality, but I would say religion.
Okay.
Growing up in a village such as BV and most villages in Guyana, we got different churches. For example, we got Roman Catholic, we got Anglican, Congregational, Baptist, AME Zion, you had Pentecostal. And so because of your interaction with different people in the village, I ended up going to like all the churches in the village for different reasons.
Wow.
Right? But my base was Bethel Congregational because that's the church my grandfather was going to.
Okay.
My grandmother, on the other hand, she was Baha'i. She never went to church. She was Baha'i. And so people would come to the house and they would sit down and read the Bible and discuss verses. So I was always around that environment. When my grandmother died, my grandfather remarried a couple of years after, and his second wife, she belonged to the Anglican church. So at the age of around 14, I started going to the Anglican church. Eventually became an altar boy going to the church because I don't know how I ended up being, but I thought the altar boy was cool because I realized all the guys as altar boys had a lot of girls.
Yeah.
Right? So I said, man, this is maybe a segue into getting me. So I joined the altar boy church, and it was an interesting experience because that experience as an altar boy exposed me, or at least put me close to the priest. And listening to conversations after church, things I would be saying that wouldn't normally speak within the congregation. And this was something that stood out for me in my life, this particular statement. After we finished church that particular Sunday, we got the cross and we got the incense and all that stuff. When we reached at the back, the deacon name was Mr. Robinson, and the priest we call him Father Hemmerding, right? So Father Hemmerding is telling Deacon Robinson, he said, Deacon, man, the things we learn in seminary, if we only come and teach this to our parishioners, they probably won't want to come back to church.
Oh, wow.
And I heard that from a young child, so it always left in my mind, right? And then in the Anglican system, when we're doing communion, you would have the ring a little bell, and then the altar boys would also ring the big bell. You did that 3 times.
Yeah.
So I was in Sunday school one time, I asked my Sunday school teacher, Miss Wilson, so why do they ring the bell? She said, oh boy, shut your mouth, this tradition, you don't have to ask them questions. But I always had an inquiring mind, so it was years after I found out the purpose of the bell and things like that, So it's just interesting. So those were my standout points as a young child growing up. Now, as I told you all, I moved from Linden and went to BV, right? My mother lived in Linden, so every summertime I would go to Linden. My mother, the church that she went to is a church called, what the Jamaicans call Pacomania. We call it Jordanite. In America, they call it the Southern Baptist. So this was the kind of church that if you get baptized, it would duck you into the river and stuff like that. And then on Saturdays, we'd be on the street beating drums. I was always ashamed of going out. I never did. I always find a way of not doing it, you know what I mean? But that was the policy. You wore all over white. When you entered the church, it was a house, but it divided up, made into a church. You had to take your shoes off. and then you had the men sitting in one section, the women in one section, and the women were divided. If you were married and you had sexual intercourse, you were in one. If you were a virgin, there was another part of the church for you, right? Then you had a young kid. So that was another segue of religion entrapping me in different ways. And as a young child growing up in Guyana, you had to go to church. You know, say I feel like going today, and you gotta go to church.
None of that. In a Caribbean household in general, I think you have to go.
That's
you gotta go to church. I
actually feel like I'm a part of, where we definitely connect, because I actually, you don't even know this story, but I actually grew up with a Trinidadian Baptist granny, and she had that whole setup, whereas it's a house, but it's a church too. Like the whole basement, you see in candles on candles, the smoke, the incense, the prayers. It was a real thing, and there was just no, I don't want to go to church. What? You crazy? It's a real thing.
And it's interesting that church in Linden, the name of it was called the Jewish Apostolic Faith. So in essence, I was baptized as a Jew when I was like 15.
Wow.
Right? So that was interesting. And then I also I had confirmation, or got confirmed in the Anglican church around 13, 14. So when I went to Linden at the time, I was like 15 years old, and I was older, and I was in the church. They don't eat pork. They don't eat shrimp.
And that's how I grew up, because I grew up Adventist.
Right. So exactly. Actually, I went to 7 Days Adventist in my village too.
Oh wow.
So when I went back to my grandparents after the month vacation, I told my step grandmother, so I'm not eating no more pork, no more shrimp. She said, really? And so she cooked okra and shrimp.
So you said that
she cooked okra and shrimp. So I'm there like trying to pick the shrimp out, and she said, boy, eat the damn food. So in my own way, I started to rebel, stop eating.
Yeah.
Until she realized I was serious, and then they stopped cooking pork, for me, and they would cook it separate. If they would cook chicken or stuff like that, So there's essentially a dietary change came into my life around 15, 16, and I never ate pork since, never ate shrimp since.
Wow.
And that was around 14, 15.
Wow. Nice. Young.
So, you just told us a lot about your childhood. I want to know a little bit more about the journey that you're on right now. So, we spoke a little bit previous to actually starting the show, but, for those that are watching right now and don't necessarily know your journey, kind of tell us a little bit about what sparked your interest with what you're studying now.
Reading. And there's a set of connecting dots, right? Like when I look back at my life, things that you took for granted or things that you overlooked, you realize, this was a key moment, right? So when I was around 20, I went to work. I'm a welder, right? So I went to work at a company called Maserati. Maserati is one of Guyana's most major shipping. They do lumber. They fell trees, and also they export lumber, right? So I'm a welder. So I went there and welding. So you had this guy. We had our own ships. The company had like 15 ocean-going vessels, and also we had maybe like the brother owned like 10 planes, and I talking about in the 80s, right? So
So he was paid.
He was paid.
He was
right?
paid.
We used to call him cowboy. That guy got a lot of money, right? So anyway, I was working on this particular ship, and this old man, we used to call him Old Cap, right? His brother is somebody popular in Guyana. The last name is Simple. So Old Cap told us, he had a bunch of young guys. He said, listen to me. I want y'all to go up the river and bring me some bamboo, because we were in a jungle area, the Mazaruni River. So he said, you can choose any day and go for this bamboo. So we chose a day and went for the bamboo. All right? He said, okay, put your bamboo out on the deck and let's see how long it's going to last. Within a couple of days, the bamboo turned to dust. Right?
Wow.
He said, okay, I'm going to go for my bamboo now. And he chose a day, he went for the bamboo, came back, put down the bamboo said a week, 2 weeks, nothing was happening, still form, right? So we said, Old Cap, well, how come this bamboo is the same place you put the bamboo from? How come yours now withering? Ours withered, right? He said, you got to pick plants in line with the moon, the cycles of the moon.
Wow.
Some deep
stuff.
stuff.
Stimulated my thinking again. Now, when you go into Old Cap's cabin on the ship, Old Cap had books all around, and so I picked up Old Cap books, several different books. Old Cap came in and caught me, right? He said, boy, put on my blasted book. Nobody touches my book. I said, okay, I'm not taking it. He said, which one book you want? So they had several books. They had a book called the Maccabee version, which is a Maccabee version of the Bible. You had a book called the 6, 7, 8 Book of Moses. You had the book of Judas. Then you had a Bible called the Ashby Bible. And this Ashby Bible, it was telling you how the Creator created snow, lightning, thunder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my interest is...
Yeah.
Okay? So in any event, one of the things, going back to my step-grandmother, her son, he was the first Rastafarian in our village. So I grew up with him from like around 15. Quito, big up Quito. So he was the first dread in the village. So I became kind of identified. And I can remember when I was writing my GC exams, studying, I used to be studying like, thing in my hair like this, when I was like 16. Turning my hair. So I had the 2 little locks down here
Right
because I couldn't do my hair because my grandfather would crucify me, right? So Quito was influential in that department in me having this kind of consciousness about blackness, right? There's another thing I must say in our village is a brother by the name of Kwesi Ojinga. He left Guyana years ago. But when I walked into Kwesi's house, his name was Desmond Jones, and he had like a big flyer on his door. And the flyer says, I can actually see it now. He had a drawing with a brother with an afro, thick lips, broad nose. And on this thing he says, my name is Kwesi Ojinga. The person called Desmond Jones is dead, no longer alive.
Wow.
I'm a black man with thick lips, woolly hair. So he started describing what an African is. This was something else again left in my thoughts, right? So in the mid-80s, I left Guyana, I went to Barbados, right? I came to Barbados, and I can remember I was working at this particular company called Coles Engineering. And Coles Engineering had contracts with Mobil Oil, so we used to build oil tanks to Mobil Oil. And they had a brother in there by the name of Perry Walcott, right? Barbadian brother. I used to take books with me to work, and during my lunchtime, I'm reading. So I had this habit of buying books every week. So this particular book I bought, the name of it was called The Rose and the Cross, right? It's a Rosicrucian book.
I have to write down these books. There's so much knowledge going on tonight.
So I'm in my lunch thing reading, and my Perry comes and said, he used to call me Monty. Hey, Monty, that book too heavy for you, man. That book too heavy for you. You shouldn't read that book, man. He said, man, I'm going to exchange and give you another book, right? I said, what do you want to give me, right? So he says, I'm going to give you a book called Rosicrucian Principles for Home and Business. I was reading that book up to like 2 days ago. It's in my bathroom up to now, right? So we exchanged books, right? And he was saying, Monty, you know, that book I gave you, keep on reading it. And then when you're ready, you're going to be able to deal with the book you just gave me, right? So I went into the book and was reading, and I realized that brother was heavy. One of the things in that book is something simple like this. Like we cross our fingers, right? You know, that is a mystical principle. Like if you cross your fingers, what you're doing, you're tying different energies. I don't want to digress, but your palm of your hand, each one of your fingers represent an element in the universe, right? For example, this is fire, this is air, this is earth, and things like that. So when you cross these 2 fingers and you cross it, so the brother is saying like if you go for an interview, you go for a job, and you
hope that you get that job.
Right, you cross your fingers. It's a metaphysical principle and it works. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much, right?
I'll write that down.
So anyway, after reading the book and getting introduced to Perry, when he realized I was into certain things, me and him used to correspond. We used to do a lot of engagement in our speaking because I realized there was no one else around that we could talk this stuff about, right? Then I realized I was just getting drawn into like African culture. I started wearing my leather pendant with the line of Judah on it. You know, started like, one time I started not cutting my hair. They're not dreads, but I wasn't cutting my hair. And in Barbados, they call that, they used to call it, when it was a gigolo or something like that, they used to call it, right? So anyway, that was the Barbados portion. The other things that happened, but I'm jumping ahead, right? So migrated to Brooklyn, right? Migrated to Brooklyn, and that was in the early 90s, 1991. I think just about the time Kenisha was born. Anyway, and in Brooklyn, there was, on the corner that I lived, there was a health food store, right? Halcyon Troop called Eden Foods, okay? And so I used to pass this place every day, every day. And so one day I decided to stop in to get some things, and the guys gave me some wheatgrass to drink with garlic and all that stuff. And I wasn't a vegetarian then. And when I drank it, it like knocked me out. Like it knocked me out completely, right? So I'm saying, what the hell is in this thing? I'm like, first, I'm getting cold sweat. Say, oh boy, you call it the Green Giant. So during that period of time, myself and wife were walking down Fulton Street in Brooklyn, right? And we went into the subway, and this guy comes up to me and he says, yo, man, you ever heard about the slave theater? I'm like, no.
Wow.
Just like that.
Yeah.
I don't know him, he don't know me, right? He said, yeah, man, you should check the slave theater out, man. Every Wednesday night, we got stuff happening up there, right? Never seen this guy since. That's the first time and last. Never seen him again. A year after, walking down Fulton Street, and I'm seeing this big sign that says slave theater, right? And all these flyers and things. So I walk up and start reading the flyers and come to find out this thing happens every Wednesday night. And the best of black minds come to this place every Wednesday night. So the following Wednesday, I decided to go. And I can't remember who the brother was, but when I reached there, the people who were there, people who were being part of it were like very conscious people. People come out from Harlem, certain parts, Nation of Islam people, all that stuff. And so this night, one particular night, I'm there, and there's a brother by the name of Bobby Hemmett, right? I won't go into that story because I find it unbelievable, but I'm just going to segue into this. He says, if you really want to get into deeper who you are, get off of that meat, bro. Get off of that meat, bro. You really want to find out about yourself, get off of that meat. I'm like, so it happened that same particular night. It was a Wednesday night. I came home, and my wife would cook corned beef and rice. I love corned beef and rice. I love
That's
onion.
food.
That's staple.
Forget about the steaks, corned beef and rice. Yes.
So I came home after that meeting, seen the food there, and didn't even touch it.
Oh, wow.
I stopped eating meat cold turkey.
Oh, wow.
Just like that. And it's been...
On that night?
On that same night.
That's discipline.
Yeah, that same night. And it was happening that during every Friday, around that time, I would go to KFC and buy the bucket of chicken, take home for the family. So we used to do that every Friday, and I stopped that cold turkey.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Once I started going to there now, I started twisting my hair. I stopped cutting my hair. That was before I stopped cutting my hair. Then I started growing my dreads. And then the brothers who were around there at that Eden Foods was Jamaicans, Bajans, Haitians, Trinis, Guyanese. All of us used to hang out there, right? And we used to read books, right? We used to smoke pot and beat drums every Friday night. That was our thing. And what I realized started happening to me, my other friends who used to go to a lot of parties, like back in the days, Club Colorado, Club Legend, I found myself starting regressing. It wasn't a draw for me so much anymore, right? I met a brother called Dr. Phil Valentine. Yeah, I was at the slave theater, he passed out flyers. This one was called the Gathering of the Masters, all right?
Oh, wow.
So I used to keep in Carroll Street, Brooklyn. So this particular day, I went Saturday at 3 o'clock. I went to the Gathering of the Masters and changed my life again completely. More intense, because the Gathering of the Masters, this brother was bringing the best of minds from around the country in one place. We came in there at Saturday at 3 o'clock. We never left till Sunday 10 a.m.
Wow.
Non-stop reasoning, food right there, things to sip on right there, and I was blown away. So I'm going home from this place one morning, and my other friends coming out to the subway, coming from a party. Where you coming from, Oba? I said, man, just been to check some people. I wasn't digressing too much, right? I said, where y'all coming from? Oh, we just come from Club Legend, da, da, da. But in my feeling, I wasn't feeling like I missed out wherever they were.
Two different places.
Right, I was feeling so fulfilled based on what I just discovered, based on what I just heard.
Right.
And my life was catapulting towards a particular direction. On leaving Brooklyn, I used to put on parties from Guyana. I didn't bring that into my story, but I was a promoter from Guyana, promoting Barbados, promoting Brooklyn.
Oh, wow.
So on leaving Brooklyn to go, we were moving to Miami. I said, I want to put on a party for my block. But as it was getting close, I said, you know what? I ain't going to do that. I'm going to ask my landlady, Moms, her name is Moms, if I can use her basement to put on a lecture.
Oh, wow.
She said, Alwyn, if you're going to bring anybody in here, I don't want you talking no nonsense or trout everybody. I said, no, Moms, we got you. So I went to my brother, Phil Valentine, And there's another brother called Curtis Coss who wrote a book called Vaccines Are Dangerous. And I invited them. I said, I got no money to pay you guys, but if you can come. I said, sure, we're going to come. So I tell everybody in the neighborhood, all the hairdressers, the barber shops, everybody told them, y'all could come in. So they came in, everybody in mom's basement. We started around 10 p.m. And the brother went in, right? They had old people there as old as 80-something years old and people as young as 15, 16 years old, right? And the brother started off the presentation by saying, is anybody sick in here? And they said, no, we ain't sick. Then he said, you sure? Then this old lady put up her hand. And then he went on to say, sickness starts in the mind. Any physical thing you have starts in the mind, okay? All right, so I'm segueing, right? So that experience there told me that there are people who need this kind of information, this kind of knowledge, right? So when I was in Brooklyn at that place hanging out, there was a book the brother brought to me. This book is called, this one is important, The Philosophy of Enlightenment, right? He lent me the book and I took it home. He never got it back. I got it up to now. The brother since passed on. Read this book, and every page you turn in this book is like questions you had in your mind for years, like the answers just popping out. I said, man. So when I moved to Miami, I recognized that the author was in Miami. So I picked up the phone and I called. I said, I'm trying to reach Dr. Ashby. And he said, speaking. I'm like, you are?
Oh, wow.
I said, man, I had your book, I seen it, I'm on a call. I said, you have any class? He said, well, no, I'm teaching a class at FIU on African origins of civilization. If you want to come and be part of it, you can come. But at that time, I was still very cultural, Rastafarian, still running the streets in a particular way. So I never did go, right? 1 year after, I called the number again, right? This time, a lady answers the phone. I said, I'm trying to get to Dr. Ashby. She said, he's not there. This is his wife. I said, really? I said, ma'am, I'm trying to find out about your classes. She said, well, that FIU class is done, but right now we're doing classes from out of our home. I said, really? I said, where do you guys live? And when they gave me the address, it was 10 minutes away from where I was.
Wow.
I'm like, you got to be kidding
Meant to be.
And I eventually went there. That was back in the year 2000.
So you're evolving. You've been evolving since then.
It's evolving. It's growing and learning. And I went into that process there, and that organization is called the Seema Institute of Yoga, which I'm still a member. We got an aspect called Kemet University, which I graduated from, a couple of degrees. And now I've started my own classes here in Atlanta since I moved here. So I got my own organization going on in Atlanta where I teach African history, African civilization, African religion. You know, so.
So I have a two-part question. How would you describe your religion or your faith now? And have you faced any challenges?
Yes, I have. Okay, let me answer this. Yes, I have faced challenges. And the challenge is going to come from the people who are closest to you because they're accustomed seeing you a certain way. Right? And if you realize I was telling you all the time, I was going through several changes from Rastafarian and everything else, Pan-Africanism. So becoming a part of this tradition, where I'm at right now, has been the longest I've been in this place. I don't intend going anywhere because out of it you can realize the fulfillment, the answers, the explosion of your personality that's growing and it's becoming closer to what it's supposed to be like, right? That's a whole other conversation, right? So the process of the religion where I'm at, it's derived, it's the most ancient of religions. And it's called Shatout Neter. Shatout, that word Shatout means hidden. Neter is an ancient name for God. So when you combine it, it's called like the hidden mysteries of God. And understandably, Africans never had a word for religion. Like Rastafari is a way of life. So it's how you conduct yourself every day. You don't have to wait till you go to church on Sunday to be a certain way. It's how you, and the most important thing is your perception of your reality. Right? Your perception of reality. Understand, I'm not chastising any religion out there, right? But you have to look historically how we got here.
Right.
How our ancestors, especially in the Caribbean and even in America, the religion that we embrace, how did it come into our grasp? And so we have to, even our names, right? Our names are not tied to our ethnicity. That's why I said I chose the name Oba to represent who I am. So in a religious or spiritual journey, you would find that you start going through changes, but these changes are a lot internal. And it's not so much people who are around you can recognize it. They might feel you at peace. They might feel you have a certain demeanor, but they know they can't place a hand on it. But the thing is, you are going through an internal process all the time when it comes to a spiritual journey. And we have to understand that when we come into life as people, understand that there's a popular saying that we are souls having a physical journey.
Yes.
Right? And for my Christian brothers and sisters out there, in the book of Genesis, it speaks about clay and God breathing into this clay, and this clay becomes a living soul. So what it is essentially telling you, because the Bible is written in parables and metaphors, so don't read the stories and accept it literally, right? So the clay represents your physical constitution, your materiality, the understanding of yourself, right? The breath of life represents the spirit that dwells within the physical body. The problem with us as a challenge is that we more than likely our lives represent the material and the physical, and it doesn't represent the breath, the spirit. Think about it, it's like a puppeteer, and the puppet is pulling the strings, and the puppet thinks that he got it going on, not realizing it's a puppeteer who's pulling the strings.
Yeah.
So what we should be giving more credence to is the puppeteer, the spirit that governs and controls the physical body. And it's just because we can't see certain things and we don't know certain things, we tend to latch on to things that are tangible, things that are physical, that we can feel and touch. But the essence of who we are is essentially spirit. And think about it, in our closing, is that the creator that designed this human body, nice body, intricate. Why would he design this human body just to come into the world, grow up, get kids, go to college, marry, get children, and die? Life has to be more than that.
Absolutely.
Life has to be more than that.
And it's for you all to figure that out.
Wow.
What does your life mean?
That was nice. And we might have to do a part 2.
Oh,
I'm
definitely.
very intrigued.
Definitely.
I think we will put that on the schedule to do a part 2.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you blown away?
I'm blown
I feel
away.
like I had some
I wrote down and made
chills.
some mental notes of some of the books, so I need to go.
We definitely have to post
research.
all of the books on the
Yes.
description of
Yes.
this video right here.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So-
I think in y'all, we all try to do. I appreciate Brother Lawrence and the crew and the team doing something like this for the Caribbean, not just for Caribbean, because we could transcend what we're doing. But information is power, not money.
Oh, yes.
Not money. Information is power. And I got some things I could share I would even further blow you away.
Oh, part 2.
But part 2.
Yes.
And I'll end in sharing this with you, right? In an introduction to part 2. The human being has 9 parts to themselves. 9. The physical body is the last. Think about that.
Ooh. I have
Chills again. We almost like cats, but not really.
Let's see the chills.
We're going to dissect it in a part 2. Don't worry about it. If it went over your head, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Part 2.
And in closing out, I'd like to say shout out to Stone Mountain, to Beefy, to Linden, East Coast Demerara, Montague family, and everybody else.
Yes.
Yep.
And when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Oh, yes.
Egyptian proverb.
Ooh.
I like that.
Miss Silva,
Blessed.
Thank you.
Thank you again so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you so much. Well,
Good job.
I'm happy that we had this conversation, and we had, how you usually have things scheduled out and things don't really go according to plan. I am okay with that.
I'm totally okay. I'm just speechless right now. We just talked about so much. Wow.
Everything is on time, Lawrence.
Yes.
African time, whenever you show up, that's the time you need to be there.
Wow, my spirit is fed, so I'm truly thankful. Thank you.
Thank you all for having me.
Absolutely. So I know, Raul, we talked about having, a game portion of the show, but let's just go ahead and just do one proverb, and, we could just kind of go from there. I think everything else was said for us. So.
Yes. So the one proverb that we do have should be a pretty easy one. I'm going to recite the proverb, and you all tell me what it means in your own mind.
And we have a Caribbean twist on it, too. So these are Caribbean proverbs that are, very famous in the Caribbean.
Okay.
All right. A crab never forgets he whole. Don't let it go over. Again, a crab never forgets his whole.
A person never forgets where they come from.
Okay.
There you go.
That's it. You agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Ding, 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 ding. You did a good job. That's actually what it does mean.
Yeah.
You have very one last little interesting little twang one?
Let's see. Sweet tongue, hide black heart. Sweet tongue, hide black heart.
Well, I could say that based on how you said it, is that your speech hides your heart. You know, things that you say, you tend to fool people, but your heart, as people say, your heart black. But your speech tend to cover that, make it look nice and rosy.
Yeah.
But behind, you know, it's like what the song Chronic same with Iron Curtain. You know, or something, how me for trust me no certain. What you do behind curtain. Not for them said, am I your friend when you check it out? Them is a different person.
We gotta hang with this guy right here. Come on. Bars. Yeah.
You know, so in this process that we're doing, man, it's we gotta tell ourselves, and we still on camera?
Yeah. We roll all the time.
We as a people, we gotta be more empowered. We got so much power. But understand, we live in a system that is designed to make that power not available as a form of information to you. That's why your school subjects and your school system is designed a certain way. Your religions are designed a certain way. But slowly and surely, people are waking up.
Yeah.
People are waking up. And for example, the millennials, young people of today, they're looking for answers to certain things that, you know, they're not getting answers for. You know what I mean? And it's important, man, that we have the world in your hands with a phone. You have the world in your hands and there's no excuse.
True.
No excuse for people gather information. Here was the problem with most people is that their ego is going to prevent them from going through changes. I got to say in a normal use, it takes courage to be black. Think about that. It takes courage to be black, especially in this country here. For example, check your wardrobe out. How much African clothes you have in your wardrobe? That's
I'm
the first
African.
question. All right.
I said I'm half African.
You're not African?
I am. I'm
okay.
full African.
Question is, what is the meaning of your name? Okay. All indigenous cultures, your meaning have to have a name. But we name it because Roseanne and Barbara and Colin and Duke, no vibration. No vibration. So in terms of us, as terms of Sankofa, going back and fetch it, right? There's a Yoruba proverb, to go back and fetch it, meaning you got to go back in history and bring it forward. And understand that that what we accomplish as a people, no civilization has surpassed it, none. But they won't teach it in the schools. But guess what? Other cultures are learning our history, but we are not. But at the same time, what I'm saying is that we don't have an excuse because you got a phone. You can Google stuff, you can search, you can research. The average African don't even, I'm talking Africans outside of the continent, don't even speak the tongue, the language.
So unfortunate.
And remember, you are being controlled and dominated through language. Because when you think, if I say, where are you going tomorrow? And if you're going to think in response to me, you're going to think in English. Why you think when scientists find a new flower, a new plant, they give it a Latin name? Even if they find it in Guyana or Jamaica, it has a Latin name. Why? Because they conquer you with language. If you give it the indigenous name where it come from, you're going to have no attachment to their superiority.
Wow. Let's go. You're giving out too much, Jim. Part two is coming up next, you all. Part two, I promise you. Hey, Ash.
But yes, thank you so much, Ms. Oba.
Yes.
We are truly appreciative. And to all the viewers, we have a lot said tonight. I'm mind blown. Like, I really am. So we will, of course, keep you guys posted on part two. Thank you guys for liming with us tonight. Thank you for liming with us with our mocktails. We enjoyed those. I barely drank any, but
I drank mine, so good.
But you guys, of course, be sure to follow us on all social media platforms. Watch_DLime, DILIME on Instagram, Caribbean Life TV on Facebook and Instagram, and of course, you can find this video at Caribbean Life TV Global on YouTube.
Yes, yes. Thanks again.
Great job.
Thank you. See you next Friday.
See you next Friday.
What's up?